Hi there. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a pitchy drum and bass style lead in Native Instruments Massive. This is the sound we're going to be making today. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new sound inside Massive and start programming this. So we're going to keep oscillator 1 at as a square saw with the wavetable position all the way to the right, so it's a saw wave. I'm going to take the pitch down 0.8 cents here just to detune it ever so slightly. I'm also going to make it a formant and pull the intensity right down to the bottom. Keep the amp on full, and I'm going to keep it routed to both filter 1 and filter 2. Turn on oscillator 2. I'm going to do the same thing here, take it down 0.8 cents. I'm going to actually make it a pulse width modulation oscillator. I'm going to keep the pulse saw position all the way to the right and the pulse width all the way to the right, and just maybe take the amp down a little bit, keep it routed to both filters, and turn on oscillator 3 and keep this as a square saw. Take the pitch down by 1 octave and do the same thing again with the cents, 0.8, and this is also going to be a formant, and we're going to pull the formant shift right down to the bottom. Keep the amp on full and keep it routed to both filter 1 and filter 2. Turn the modulation oscillator on, take the pitch up by 1 octave, and we're actually just going to be using the phase modulation here, and we're going to be modulating oscillator 3 but only by a tiny little amount, so pull this right down there. So still sounding a relatively simple sound, but let's start programming the filters here. Gonna put in a daft filter for filter 1, take the cutoff all the way up and pull the resonance all the way down, and pull the mix slider of the two filters down to just past halfway, and turn the volume of filter 2 up, and this is going to be a band pass filter. Pull the cutoff down a little bit here and the bandwidth kind of stay around there, and the resonance push up a little bit. So got a bit more rasp in the sound now, so it's going to give the sound 2 voices and make it monophonic. Turn the pitch cutoff on and pull the slider down to just a little bit, just around about there. So we're getting a nice bit of chorus kind of phase with the voices there. Turn the pan position on and move the slider sort of halfway in between mono and sort of kind of full width, just to give the sound some width. Okay, so start modulating with some envelopes here now. So gonna drag envelope 1 to the pitch of all the oscillators here and turn the modulation amount up by 1 octave. So do the same for oscillator 2, and also we're gonna oscillator 3 there up 1 octave plus 12, and modulation oscillator as well, take that up by 1 octave. Get a bit closer to the sound we're after now, so let's just back off the attack of this envelope, just modulating the pitch a little bit, so getting a bit more of a slide. Maybe push the sustain up a little bit. And that should about do for that envelope, and let's move to envelope 2 now. And what we're going to do, this is going to be the formant modulation. So what we want with these envelopes here, these oscillators that we've made formants, we want the formant shift to move up automatically, so we can modulate that with an envelope. Drag this envelope 2 to the formant or the intensity of oscillator 1 and oscillator 3, and drag the modulation up to around about there, and maybe just have a bit more of a modulation on oscillator 3 here, and this envelope just back off the attack a little bit to about 1/4 of the way, and keep the decay as it is, but just pull the sustain level right up there, and so we're getting this automatic formant shift on the sound now, which is pretty cool. So we also want to modulate this bandpass cutoff here, so we're getting that sort of the band pass, we're going to get like a filter sweep with the sound. So we're going to use a third envelope to do that, and drag this to the cutoff frequency of filter 2 and take the modulation amount up right up to full there, and just back the attack off really to maybe just before halfway, keep the decay around halfway, sustain on full, and the more resonance we dial in here, the more pronounced the effect is going to be. We're going to get that sort of resonance sweep on the top. So you can move the bandwidth and resonance to sort of taste really just how you want to program the sound. Okay, so next thing to do really is set up the effects. So we're going to have a classic tube in FX1. Just keep the dials pretty much as they were, maybe just take them down a little bit. And for effects 2 we're going to have a dimension expander, and again just drag these, just chill that effect out a little bit really. Okay, so the sound's coming together now. One other thing I wanted to do with it was modulate the pitch with an Lfo. So we go to this first Lfo here and sync it. Take the ratio to 1/12 to kind of give us a triplet style delay really, and I'm going to move the X fade curve all the way to the bottom so it's a sawtooth wave, this Lfo. And what I'll do first is I'm going to drag the modulation, start modulating the pitch, so drag it over to the pitch slot 2 and just turn it up by a tiny bit. So I'm only going to turn it by 1+1 semitone for all of these oscillators. I can do this really cool thing here with this Lfo, is don't want that Lfo effect to take place straight away in the sound. I want it to sort of come in if I hold a note, and so if you have a sustained note we get that kind of Lfo on the sound. So I can actually do this with the Lfo's internal envelope. So if I take the amp of the Lfo down to 0 and this crosshair next to an internal envelope, we get this AD, which is just attack and decay. Drag this over to the amp of the Lfo and turn it up to full, and now by backing off this attack slider I get this Lfo that is actually not straight away there in the sound. It's sort of, once I've held the note, the Lfo comes in, which could be give us quite a nice variation with the sound if we were sort of playing a sound and going. I think that's pretty much it with the sound now, so let's give it a little spin in action. Okay, so there you have our sound, a pitchy drum and bass lead in Native Instruments Massive. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Any questions about the tutorial, then give us a shout, and thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Cheers, bye.